The last couple of podcasts, I've been quite PC.
Yeah.
I've been quite careful because I can't keep upsetting people, you know.
Yeah. What's the point?
And I have to remember, like, what I consider as inoffensive or what I consider as not a problem is not the same as everybody else's.
Yeah.
And the world is quite sensitive these days. Or maybe I'm insensitive, I don't know. One or the other.
No, the world's pretty sensitive. I think you should be able to talk about, I don't know, differences between styles, or that health Tai Chi is not the same as full internal classical Tai Chi, and that'd be fine.
I'm not even convinced Tai Chi is amazing and good for your health, but that's another story.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I wonder about that.
Fighting.
It's just, I feel like my mom has told me, and I've heard, stories of very elderly people who, if they have, intense joint issues or back pain, stuff like that, and then they gently move, and it causes those issues to abate for periods of time.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's just, it staves it off, but it doesn't progress past that point, which I guess it has its own benefit to that.
It also kind of depends on the level of Tai Chi you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about that kind of Tai Chi that's mobilizing the joints, just movements, I think actually it's pretty good, because even if it's something that only alleviates the pain while you're moving, well, you just keep doing it all the time for the rest of your life, and then the problem is gone. I think more the Tai Chi I say that it's not, I don't know how good it is, how good for your health is when you take it to the absolute peak of how good you can possibly be at.
Oh, I see.
Tai Chi. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go and so I think 99% of Tai Chi is actually probably quite good for your health. But it's like if you have a car and you have like a top, not that I've ever owned such a thing, but like a Lamborghini or something. As far as I understand, they seem to break down every 5 minutes because they're too highly tuned. You know?
Like somebody who's way too obsessed with their health. And they're just too finely tuned, and then eating a cheeseburger just sends them out for a week.
Yeah, totally. And I've been to that place with Tai Chi for sure. Like, I've taken it to a level where it was like I was so focused on it. It was like peak Tai Chi for a little bit, but I was constantly like pulling something or tweaking a line, and you have to step back from the Tai Chi skill a little bit less far down the route, and then your body's actually a lot healthy.
Yeah. And obviously, like, I've not gotten anywhere close to that level, but I remember I went through a brief phase back in the day of like no exercise, and I was just very focused on Tai Chi and just doing song. And I remember you describing the specifically the lower back pain, or like right above the sacrum. I remember that kind of pain, but it was just there and kind of constant.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? If you have an art, you're supposed to abandon physical force, but the body relies on it to a certain extent.
So keep it together.
Interesting. Okay, shall we do it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and light this again because I've done a really shit job of it. So, hey everybody. Today I'm joined by Ben. I don't know how much, maybe some of you from the school will know Ben, but lots of you won't, because you don't really have an online presence, do you?
Not really. On Instagram a bit.
A little bit, but this is Ben. Ben is a teacher. I shouldn't say a student. You're a student and a teacher. You're both, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Inside Lotus Nei Gong. Inside the school that I run. And I apologize, I'm really waiting. How long have you been inside the school? Let's introduce Ben first.
11 years, I think. Just under 11 years, I think. Yeah. I think 11 years this February.
11, is that right?
Yeah.
And Ben is actually one of the only people who's broken our rules.
Have I? Oh, yeah.
We actually have a rule of like nobody can join our school before 18. Only because some of the internal work I'm a little bit concerned, it would probably be okay, but I'm a bit concerned about doing that level of internal work with people who are young teenagers or something, because I think there's already a lot of disturbances going through emotionally when you're a teenager, and I don't know his internal work will mix with it. But you lied.
Yes. Well, I didn't. I didn't
lie.
This is the common
I thought you lied. How did you get in?
I just didn't know. I just didn't know that was a rule. So I remember very distinctly. A lecture that you were giving on the last day of that first weekend course, and you talked about a bunch of contraindications, and you said, and that's why I don't teach people under 18. And
Right.
I looked around like, oh, whoops.
Just got up and walked out.
Yeah. But I think it was my 18th birthday a few months from then. Anyway. But either way, I actually think it was a bit too early for me anyway.
Oh, really?
I think it would have been, but like, I don't know, my idealized structure, I would have done something like external martial arts until I was like 21, 22 or something with my, I don't know, I was very neurotic, very anxious, and had a lot of, well, I guess all teenagers are, but yeah, it felt a little, like the first couple of years there, it was definitely, Nei Gong made me very kind of anxious, the way that it was just too much mobilization, too much, so then that's why I ended up focusing on Tai Chi for the first 6, 7 years, maybe first 8 years or something. I just switched most of my emphasis to the Tai Chi and short form, Song Gong and all that stuff. Actually, under your recommendation, I remember it was my first retreat, you mentioned that I should do a lot of the Song Gong exercises, and it'd be really good for my kind of, a lot of tension here, a lot of neuroticism in the mind, and it helped to really cool me off, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that out of the hierarchy of the internal stuff, Qigong, meditation, alchemy, they're the ones where you encounter your nature the most. Yeah. And that's not always a bad thing, but well, mostly it's a good thing, but sometimes it's not the best, is it? Yeah. So being able to work with your body somatically through Tai Chi is a bit of an easier way in a lot of the time.
And just like unfurling the nerves, and Song Gong in particular was just so useful for such a long time. And then, at a certain point, I think 5 years into that Tai Chi focus, I started integrating the Nei Gong more intensely, and it was fine past that point. I just was very high strung, so then anytime I was doing anything building the Qi or kind of mobilizing the Zhufa Gong, it just made me very wired. So I think it was best that I focused on Tai Chi for a while.
But you had a background before you came to Lotus Nei Gong. You'd already been doing Tai Chi before that.
Yeah, the health Tai Chi for about half a year to a year, I think.
Oh, was that it? Oh, I thought you did more.
No, that was it. Because I joined that school. My mom basically, she kept prodding me, year after year, and I was just very anti-spirituality, anti kind of woo-woo, anything like that. I was very materialist kind of kid, and thought my mom was very strange. Right. But eventually she convinced me, and I ended up just really getting really absorbed. Actually, I just really liked moving slowly. I liked, like there's something kind of I don't know, the mystique of practicing these ancient movements, and like not really knowing where it could lead, but having some idea that people have been practicing these arts for hundreds of years, thousands of years, so there's got to be something to them. It really sucked me in, and I liked the people. I liked all the nice old folks who were training with me, so it was nice. And I ended up, I stayed at the, funnily enough, I stayed at the center there, and I lived at the center. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Up in, where is it in Canada?
Orangeville. Yeah, just outside of Toronto. So I ended up, I was living there full time and training, and then I was teaching beginners with that organization, and was very absorbed. But they started passing around kind of videos of you, and somebody in the group bought your book, and then
pass around inside the school.
Yeah, and
right.
we're
How
chatting. How
did the school feel about that?
That school is unfortunately a bit closed off to other systems. They're a bit protective, and lots are. But so I ended up going to one of your workshops, but off the back of videos of you doing Xingyi, funnily enough. It was the thing that really attracted me to the school. It was just videos of you and Tom, your student at the time, your senior at the time, practicing Xingyi. Every time I watched it, I watched those videos again and again and again. It was just really, I think, young male. It moved faster. It was a bit more
Xingyi's more interesting to look at when you're a bit younger as well. It doesn't change. I can't get through a Tai Chi video, a form video. I can't do it. It drives me insane. I've seen too many. So the arms go up, the arms go down, and that's it. I've already lost interest. I can't watch it anymore. So that pattern repeated because Ben actually, Ben came here to Bali. Was we in 3 years to the full-time training, something like that? 3 years, isn't it? and lives in the hall. It's no different. Originally, you were in like a hotel or something.
Yeah, just around the corner.
But now you live and sleep in the hall and train in the hall, and
which is a dream come true.
which is very bizarre, because when you said it, I was like, oh, should we make it more comfortable? Do you want a bedroom built there or something? But nope, you just want to roll a mattress out on the floor.
Fine.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Actually, when I was in my 20s, I guess I did the same in a couple of places.
Yeah, so. Just don't need much. I'm just here to train. So,
okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny. It is literally a dream come true. I remember, not sure you remember, but on the end of our first ever course, I asked you if I could come and live in the hall in Sweden.
The one we built?
Yeah. Which I didn't know much about that hall. I didn't know that it was basically a shed.
You wouldn't want to live in that hall.
I wouldn't want to live in that hall.
Live in the hall, yeah.
But it only took 10 years.
It was a hall.
Yeah.
It was a training space, yeah.
Yeah. So, here we are.
So, you came in and, you live here and you've started teaching here as well. And your interest really has been funny to see that you said you're watching a video at the beginning about Xingyi. Now that's, I don't know if it's your main interest. Maybe Nei Gong still is, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
Nei Gong is definitely main interest, but Xingyi feels like the most useful tool for me personally at this stage in my practice.
Okay.
And it's just, to me, seems like kind of an underutilized or underappreciated tool from what I understand. The kind of qualities that it builds, I think, really benefit people in ways that aren't super apparent at first glance. From what I understand, they seem apparent to me, but I find that a lot of people don't quite understand what they are doing it for or what benefit they kind of can derive from it. So
I'm not sure that's different in any of the arts, to be honest.
I guess so.
Yeah, and so I remember doing Xingyi. Where did I first teach you Xingyi? I guess it was in Portugal.
Portugal, yeah.
And Portugal,
yeah. Portugal. I think it was 5 years before we did any Xingyi after I joined the school, which it was just not very emphasized in your practice and in your teaching at that time. But,
No, I've hardly taught it. I've taught little bits of it, and some people learned parts of it, but it's only really been here in Bali that I've had the opportunity to really work on Xingyiquan with like a bunch of people, and even then it's quite niche, as you know. It's not everybody's taste. Most people want to come and do Qigong and Tai Chi. Xingyi is, I don't know, Marmite.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you say that in Canada or Marmite?
Yeah, well, I have a British stepdad, so we had Marmite. I actually quite like Marmite.
If you don't know what Marmite means, it means you either love it or you hate it. It's I don't know, it can grow on you, I suppose, as a practice, but a lot of people take offense to it right at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think the niche that it fills is strange, because it's like if you're really into martial arts and like super practical martial arts, then you see the kind of internal drills and like the sticky hands and stuff like that, and you think, oh, that looks impractical if you have that kind of mindset. Or if you're really into the internal and really into just cultivation or like going inside or developing the chi and all of that, then it looks too aggressive. Right. So it's somewhere in this weird spectrum where it doesn't appeal to either end. But
yeah, that makes sense. Internal martial arts are very much like that. It's hard to find the people that are going to go into it, because you kind of, Tai Chi is a little bit of an exception, but Xingyi and Bagua, you have to be interested in physicality enough to engage in a martial art, but not to the point of obsessing about it, because you're better off in something like MMA. Because it doesn't fully engage with combat as much as those arts do, because there's lots of forms. But you also have to be interested in cultivation and energetics, or you kind of miss that whole side of the spectrum. And a lot of people are one or the other. Yeah,
the amount of Nei Gong that you have to do to get the internals to work in Xingyi is just time that takes away from, sparring and stuff like that, which the really martial people would be more interested in spending more of their time doing that. And then, other end of the spectrum, people just want to meditate. They don't want to punch at all. So it's a weird little niche that Xingyi fills, I find.
Yeah, it's an odd one. But you've engaged with lots of it. I mean, you've been doing a lot, especially here while you're in the hall. You told me the other night you did another. How many? You said it's been 2/3 of 2 days doing Santi or something. Or?
I really like Santi just as a posture as well.
Nobody likes Santi as a posture. Like or interested in it? Which one is it? Is it like?
I like it. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, I genuinely like it. I don't know. There's something.
I don't think you're supposed to like it.
No, and it was very uncomfortable in the beginning. It goes through phases and stages of oscillating. Yeah, there's something about the back leg position. It's just, you have these 6-4 stances in Tai Chi, but then 70-30 in Xingyi is just enough to make it that much worse. I don't know what it is.
It's that little bit extra compression on the sort of muscles of the back, isn't it?
Yeah.
The thighs and the calves when you first start. Until they release. When they release, it's not so bad. But
Yeah.
It's funny, when I started doing Santi, actually I didn't have to go through that. Like most people will worry about the back leg.
Yeah.
But I was lucky because I had totally fucked up my shoulder shortly before doing Xingyi, and I tried lots of things to fix it. So when I did Santi, that extended left arm, it killed my shoulder so much that I didn't notice the legs. So I had left shoulder pain so much while I was going through Santi. And the weird thing was, like, eventually when the body knitted together, all the tissues went and opened, my shoulder, it actually fixed the injury. More than any of the twin R or body work I'd had, or acupuncture, or even Tai Chi or something. It was Xingyi that fixed it.
I remember reading about, you wrote a little bit about that in a Scholar Sage article, like 12, 13 years ago or something. And that also attracted me to it as well, because it was just, I like this strange juxtaposition of Xingyi, where it is the most overtly martial one, but then, as you always say, the classics kind of, well, they have a lot of medicine and a lot of psychotic kind of rambling in there, but
but definitely a lot of medical writings, right? But I don't know if that's what fixed my shoulder. I don't think it was some deep spiritual work. It was just there was a pop. There was a pop and a crack, and it just went in. So I was quite lucky. So I don't know if I'd sell Xingyi particularly as a shoulder fixing system, because I wrote that. I've said that before a couple of places, and I have had people reach out to me saying, "I've got a shoulder injury. Should I do Xingyi?" I'm like,
maybe not.
I think it was a fluke. I wasn't planning on it fixing my shoulder, but
Interesting.
I think there's more efficient systems for sure. So what are you working on when you do? I'm interested because I've done Xingyi. Fucking ages. I don't know, a really long time. When I encountered Xingyi first, when I was quite young, it was basically an external version of Xingyi. Maybe like you're saying, the Tai Chi maybe was a bit more external that you started with. Same with the Xingyi. I learned it. It was basically karate, shaped like Xingyi, and not to be anything negative about karate. Nothing wrong with karate, but it used karate's mechanics. And I think as a teacher, had a background in karate, like lots of us do in the West who do martial arts. So I didn't really get it. Like, I kind of knew the shapes, but I didn't really understand the point of it. But then as I went through different teachers and went deeper into it, I became very fascinated in it. But the problem I always have is those days were such a blur. There was so much training. I can't really remember the process I went through. I remember the discomfort. And also there were so many crossovers from other things I was doing. So I was doing Bagua at the same time. So I'm quite curious about your process for something like Santi, the standing posture. Like, what were you doing in the hours and hours when you stand?
Well, I think generally, to me, the layers of Santi kind of have what seemed like a logical progression to me. And we've gone through various stages in your teaching with different layers, and then I guess it's not that I've kind of restructured it, but the way that you've taught it, it makes sense to me to kind of put it in a certain sequence. So first is just the comfort of the position and just getting through the kind of chewing bitter phase of the pain in the legs, the pain in the shoulders, everything just kind of opening up and building, for lack of a better term, comfort in the position. It's still, you build the internal pressure, and that starts to take over from the contractive quality of the body. So then that's like the building the workshop phase, I guess you'd say.
We should make a point there before we move on. That's really major. So you're talking about shifting from contractive power to expansive power. That's a bigger deal than people might realize. And I think actually like quite a big landmark in the physical side of the internal arts. Contractive power to expansive power is huge. Do you feel you managed that more in Santi than you did in something like Tai Chi then, or just in a different way?
Well, that's the difficult thing as well, actually, is that my Xingyi process has not been pure either, because I was more focused on Tai Chi for the first 5 years. So I actually think I wouldn't have benefited nearly as much from Xingyi back in the day when I first started, because of the neuroticism and the kind of anxiety. It was, just stood there like this with the
it would make you neurotic and single focused in your neuroticism?
Yes, exactly. So I think it was good to have a bit of foundation in just Song Gong. Just the arm swings, honestly, was such a massive boon to my mental state that I think that did a lot of the work for making the posture comfortable. So it's a little impure in that way.
Yeah.
But that stage of the process, I think, seems pretty much universal across the martial arts. Like the three that I've studied with you, is that you have to. One way that you described it a long time ago that I always really liked is that it looks like. At first, it looks like you're putting on clothes that don't really fit you.
Yes.
And then eventually, it's like you settle into the shape, and there's something. It's like you're wearing clothes that were designed for you, or something like that. Like you just settle into it. And I think the way that I conceptualize, maybe I'm curious what you think of this. Actually, I conceptualize the kind of chewing bitter phase as that switch from contractive to expansive. So like, if you have a set of scales and your body is all contraction at the start, and then the body starts to switch to expansive power, it starts to fill and kind of stretch and mobilize, and everything's starting to open, then it feels like the phase before they kind of equalize is what I would consider the chewing bitter phase. It's like it's really kind of graunchy and painful, and it literally looks like you're chewing something bitter. Your face is just like you're in discomfort. But then past a certain point, the kind of expansive quality starts to take precedence. And then from that point onwards, it's still uncomfortable. It's still pressure. It still feels like it's building some kind of power, but it's not, doesn't create that kind of like sticky, like your body's kind of fighting itself. Yeah. It's just everything is continually opening and getting more expansive and more comfortable, even though there's still a kind of discomfort from the pressure.
Yeah, I think what is happening. I think what is happening is at the beginning when everything is contractive, it's because all of the obvious reason everything is bound up, and the only way your body knows how to support a structure is by tensing certain things that squeeze to create the shape. So you've got that, and that's like a muscle fatigue tiredness, isn't it, more than anything else? Yeah. And then when your body starts to open up inside, I think a lot of that sort of tearing, that's what it feels like, isn't it? Sort of deep tearing and discomfort is actually like the stabilizer muscles and the mobilizer muscles starting to pull and push on each other. So they're crossed over. So the thing that's supposed to keep you still is not switched on as it should. And the thing that's meant to mobilize you is switched on. And that's when that, like a rug burn or sort of friction burn, isn't it? Yeah. And then you start to switch over to expansive power, meaning all of your connective tissues and the huang open up, which pushes your bone out. So then you have a new pain. And the new pain is part of your body is contracting and part of your body is expanding, so they're meeting each other. And then when it lets go, you just have expansion. And then, as you say, it's still uncomfortable, but it's different, isn't it? Because it's discomfort that's pushing you out in all directions rather than pulling you in.
To me, it's almost like pleasant. Like it is uncomfortable, and it's like like there's a lot of graunching and pressure and everything kind of changing, but I don't know, it doesn't create that same kind of like, your mind is just like bucking against it. It's almost like it's just optimally challenging for your body. It just feels like you're kind of working your body to its maximum effort, but not beyond a point where it would cause, I don't know, great mental discomfort. Yeah.
No, it's not torture, is it? It's just feels like hard work. And it's like, Xingyi has that sort of expansion of everything, but everything's still mobile, which is, it's like a very difficult thing for people to get. I think like in the internal arts, you either see often when people haven't reached that stage, while they're still learning or whatever, or maybe if they haven't understood it, you either see stiff Xingyi, which is basically because everything is still contracting, so they're trying to fight against it. Or you see loose Xingyi and loose Tai Chi, which is in the joints. But that looseness in the joints where everything looks like fluid actually has no power because they're still contractive. So the only way they can make it loose is let go so nothing is contracted, right? So now you're disconnected. Whereas the expansion that opens out is pressurized, but still mobile, right? So contractive power can't be mobile very much, but expansive power is still very mobile. And that's with regards to the body, certainly at the first level, the sort of Mingjin aspect, obvious power of Xingyi. I think that's a key part to get to, really, so you can stay pressurized but fluid.
Yeah, and that to me is the building the workshop phase or the chewing bitter phase. Like just switching the mechanism of the body over from fighting against the posture to basically expanding into the posture and then continually filling past that point. And then within that space, there are practices that you do or connections that you build that then also can be another layer of pain because you're then building certain lines and connections inside. But it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same to me.
So go on then. How long did that take?
Oh, I don't know.
In hours.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think the kind of graunchy, like, my body is just hating this kind of quality is left within the last couple of years.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you went through quite a few years of graunchy pain.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, joys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it does take that long.
Yeah.
You can see where it's like, it's not a very accessible art, is it? That's the problem, isn't it, with Xingyi? Because the first practice you encounter, maybe you have some body mobilizations or exercises, or the Sun Gong you had from Tai Chi, I guess. But the first practice you really encounter is San Ti. It matches all the old accounts you get, where the master made the students stand for 5 million years in Jamjong to know they were worthy.
I always love the stories like that.
Yeah, well, in Xingyi kind of, you can't get around that.
Yeah.
You can in Tai Chi a bit, but you can't in Xingyi. San Ti
that's where you start.
There's no denial of it, is there? San Ti is where you begin.
It's the core of everything that you do. So it's just, and it's so apparent how much San Ti improves everything else. Like every single technique, every single movement is just the structure of San Ti with some kind of variation. Right. And so the way that it just transforms the body, it's just essential for the whole system, it seems. Yeah.
So what benefits do you think it brings then? Because I guess you're going back to what you were saying about, like, why would people do it? Or they don't know why they're doing it because, I mean, Xingyi is definitely the least popular of the three. I don't even know about numbers of people practicing it. Maybe, I don't know how many people practice Bagua globally, but if you look purely on interest, people tend to be way more interested in Tai Chi or Bagua than they do in Xingyi. Yeah. There's a higher percentage of it, right?
Yeah, to me...
so why are they doing it?
Yeah, like I said, my main interest is Nei Gong, or meditation, like spirituality, that kind of aspect of the practice. So I kind of see all of the martial arts as just tools for that kind of process, which I know that's your view as well. And to me, Xingyi is just for building the kind of more yang qualities of the mind or yang qualities in the body that support more subtle work later. So the way that you often describe, many of the practices in Xingyi, or my experience, is that they're kind of more rudimentary versions of a lot of qualities that you build in Tai Chi or in Bagua. So a lot of practices, Tai Chi has Song Gong, Xingyi has a lot of just like pressing the Qi down to the feet in quite a forceful fashion. And you can feel how it doesn't quite go to the same layer. It doesn't go as deep as the Song process in Tai Chi or descending the Qi to the feet, but it builds the kind of runners for that kind of force. So you do, and again, I'm impure in my Xingyi process because I started with Tai Chi and then I've kind of been going back into Xingyi. But you can see how doing a lot of the Xingyi practices that open those kinds of elastic lines, the cables down through the body, it's more rudimentary, but then kind of layering the Song process inside of that, once you switch into something more internal like Tai Chi, builds the runners for a lot of processes that I think are a little difficult to get without some kind of more rudimentary physical way in. Yeah.
I think as well, saying it's more rudimentary. It's true. It's not, like on the spectrum of internal versus external, I would always say that Xingyi is further down towards external than Tai Chi, but it's still very, very, very far down that internal route. When people hear rudimentary, I think they're too extreme.
Yeah,
and they think
I
you
don't
mean
mean
percussive power and da-da-da. But it's like, it doesn't matter how comparatively rudimentary to Xingyi is compared to Tai Chi. If your Tai Chi has nothing in it, then it is more rudimentary than any Xingyi. Do you know what I mean? You're only as advanced at the level you're at, or something like this. Yeah, and Xingyi is an odd one because, as you know, that there's 3 levels of training of it. I don't know if people listening are familiar, which probably is a bit of jargon in this podcast, isn't it? I don't know. People are... Basically, Xingyi not telling you, I know you know, has Mingjin, Anjin, and Huajin, like 3 stages of training, and people would define it in different ways. I think often how people define Huajin, the 3rd stage, actually I consider it the 1st stage, right, which is Mingjin. So Mingjin means like obvious power, clear power, which is really what you're talking about, like expansion and opening of the body past that sort of contractive stage, so that, we haven't really got into this, but so that your yi can get into the form, but it creates a sort of spring-like, snappy kind of power, kind of fast, and you know. And then the 2nd level is Anjin, which is actually a lot more rotational, and it's about using the dantian to drive all that power through. And I think it's fair to say you encounter Anjin first probably in some of the animals, don't you? They kind of lend themselves to that a little bit.
Or like, I guess you build the engine for it in Santi. That's kind of like after you build the workshop, then you start layering in like dantian rotation, or like expanding certain centers, or building lines of connection that I guess would be the engine for Anjin.
But Anjin you couldn't say was external. Like it's an internal mechanism, because it's based upon the dantian, which is not the hips or anything. And then the 3rd stage is Huajin, like subtle or hidden power, mysterious power, transformative power. They all have different names, Huajin. But Huajin is very, very similar to some of Tai Chi's mechanics. I mean, it is purely about the yi and the qi, so the body kind of fades away a little bit. But Huajin is, I don't know, like not many people have got to Huajin in a long time. It's a complicated thing. Like Mingjin is difficult. Anjin's a pain in the ass. Huajin is rare. It's very tricky. And I would say the people I've seen, I've met a couple of people that are close to the Huajin level. I've had my glimpses of it for sure. But I would say that they often have a background in Tai Chi as well. Sometimes it's admitted, sometimes it's not. But they have a background in it, you know. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't achieve it through Xingyi. I think you can. But sometimes just having that extra tool of the background in Tai Chi certainly helps a lot.
And I guess just the sheer kind of malleability of the inside of the body that you develop in Tai Chi, and through like deepening Song kind of aids the Huajin in Xingyi.
Because you take those lines that you build, because when you're expanding that power out and you're creating those runners that you're talking about, those runners have to, like the Tao Te Ching says, has to get taut before it can relax, get strong before it gets soft. So you pull them out, you pull them out, you pull them out. So all those lines are here, like a guitar strings, all strung up inside. And then those are the lines that are released incrementally, song, 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 so that you kind of dissolve away. And that's what creates a Huajin. So it's quite difficult to do it without having that way. I think it's impossible to do it without the lines being there first.
Interesting. And so on the level of the body, that's what I see the early stages of Xingyi training as being useful for if you want to go on to study the other arts as well. Is that it has these more rudimentary mechanisms, but not to downplay the complexity of those mechanisms. But that's what I find it very useful for.
It's funny, I've gone in full circle. You know, like Xingyi was, I've come from external martial arts, Western fighting, Japanese fighting, Chinese Kung Fu, you threw into Xingyi, then into Bagua and Tai Chi, and I'm back on Xingyi now. It's just
and that's been really fun to see. You've been very enthusiastic about the Xingyi recently, which is, I enjoy it quite a lot.
I think you should be above such things, shouldn't you? Above preference. You know, but you're talking about it. You're above bias, you're above preference. Fuck that. Like, it's human. Or I'm just not very advanced. And I still have preferences for feelings and things of the way things feel. And I think personally, it's because I'm doing so much work in Nei Gong and alchemy that's very, very deep and not using the body and very, very subtle. And I think in the last few years gone deeper and deeper and deeper into that. I think you've known me a lot of years since that's transformed for me. But that actually when I do Tai Chi, it's quite unsatisfying because it's not enough of a change from it. I don't know if there's a contrast. There's not enough of contrast.
This strange niche. Now Tai Chi is like not close enough to meditation.
Well, it's too close.
Oh, yeah.
It's too close.
To meditation,
So then if I finish my practice, I think, I'll move my body, and I start moving Tai Chi, and all of this abandoning sort of all force, it's just unsatisfying. So
I just want to do Bang Chuan.
So Xingyi all of a sudden is appealing because it's like, I can move my body and do something physical to kind of counter it. Because otherwise, if you're just doing... It wasn't a problem when the Qigong and meditation hadn't got to a certain depth. Once you got to a certain depth, if I just do that, and then I just do Tai Chi, I end up feeling a bit like a potato. At the end of the day, it's just...
And that's one of the nice things about it is that Xingyi is exercise, but it's it's exercise that also has all of these crossover skills with the other arts. So you're able to get both of those qualities. You can get the exercise, but also develop these kind of elastic lines that will aid your other arts if you're interested in those.
So what's your understanding then? I'm curious. It's funny, this is like I get to question someone I've taught.
Yes, it's fun.
It's like not only what have you, no pressure, but have you listened? That's like,
yes. Yeah.
No, it's not that actually. No, because like hopefully you've come up with your own interpretation of it anyway. I don't like carbon copies, clones, communist Tai Chi or something.
The art is expressed through each individual.
So I'm just curious, what's your understanding then of, because I'm big on the names of styles, certainly internal styles actually showing what they're for, what they do, then the clue is in the name. So I was wondering what your understanding of the sort of yi in Xingyi is.
Yes, it's...
what conclusions have you reached? If any.
Wanted to talk about that because the way that I see it is, again, like it allows you... Xingyi allows you to work with something that would be considered kind of less refined or less subtle than something like Tai Chi. So in the name, Xingyi, yi is often translated as intention or awareness, but quite often the way that we've used it is like the intent, which often is something that we kind of try and move away from in a lot of the other arts. So in Nei Gong or in Tai Chi, you're trying to let go increasingly of clinging in the mind and intention, subconscious, unconscious intention, and move towards deeper and deeper states of attention. But Xingyi allows you to use the intent in a way that I think, as I understand it, is to develop a skillful yi, a skillful intent. And trying to understand the way that the yi can interact with the body such that it doesn't interfere as much. I imagine, as we've said, Xingyi doesn't go as deep as something like Tai Chi, which focuses much more on ting and song and attention and increasingly letting go of the intent. But within Xingyi, the way that I see it is that every time you're using the yi, using the intent in Xingyi, it's like you're cleaning it in a way. It's like you're using it in such a way that you're trying to let go of whatever intent you don't need while maintaining the intent that you do need to perform whatever action you're doing. So
that's interesting.
When I'm performing a form or using my intent in Xingyi, it can be quite strong and forceful in a way that you don't really use in Tai Chi or in Nei Gong or something like that. But to me, the two phrases that always come back to me are stressless effort and shen up, qi down. So the way that, and those both are quite often referenced in context of Nei Gong, but I find that Xingyi is one of my favorite tools for working with those kinds of concepts. So every time that you're using the intent, you're trying to increasingly release kind of any background tension behind the intent that you're using so that it can be cleaner. So it's difficult to describe, but I guess within Santee, after you've kind of, you start layering these principles in before the workshop is fully complete, because you'd just be standing in the classical way for 3 years before you ever got onto an actual practice if you just did it that way. But basically, every time that I increase the intent into the distance, it can generate tension in the body. So, and this is quite often what I see students experience, is that we send the intent out into the distance when stood in Santee, and you can see everything kind of creeping up in the shoulders, creeping up, all the tension patterns kind of start to come back into their body. And then you release those. So you're there standing and you increase the intent until it's kind of on the edge of what you're comfortable with, and everything is kind of starting to come up, starting to get uncomfortable. And then you release off of that while maintaining the intention at the same kind of level of strength that you are trying to maintain. So then Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay.
Lost my train of thought.
So if it's an interesting way you put it there, which is definitely not how I explained it to you.
Yeah.
No, so that's interesting to hear. So would I, if I repeat back to you, maybe I misinterpret. Are you defining stress, if you like, as kind of multiple intents that are there in the background that are not supposed to be? So you have like one intent you're doing, or are you just meaning some other way?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. If you have your intent on a point in the distance, and you're kind of using excessive tension in the mind to hold it there,
right?
Then that just generates all these kind of byproducts in the mind, tension and emotional kind of things come up. But if you can maintain the intention and release off of that, then you're left with just focus. So just the mind intent on a point and ability to kind of act without having those emotional qualities kind of be there in the background.
So you're maintaining the energy of the intent, the strong concentration without the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I can interject there a little. I would say, yeah, I agree with that. I think that's good. And if we sort of take that back to the difference between contractive and expansive power, I think that when the body is still very contractive, the sort of standard sort of muscular, like this, that contraction across your body represents or emulates, mirrors. It's manifest out of the kind of background tension that you have, right? All of the hubbub. And the problem is that when you express a kind of strong intent or something, everything grips like this.
Yeah.
Whereas when that is let go of and your body moves into that expansive power, so the connective tissues are opened out and stretched, that it's funny, isn't it? Like the intent can move more in a line.
Yes.
Through the body, right? And then, so I would wonder, I don't know about this, but I wonder if you could even clean the intent, at least using the somatic feedback of the body, before you got to the expansive power. Would that even be possible?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Or that is, in a way, that's partially the process that leads to switching from contractive to expansive power.
Okay.
The releasing the background intent and everything that is preventing the body from just opening into the posture or opening into the movement, whatever it is.
It makes you wonder as well, like, because I think that you've got that separation between like thought, mind, feeling, emotion. You know, they sort of loop around with one another. So I have a thought, and then that thought is reflected in my body because the mind and the body are one, we would assume, in an art like this. So then what happens is I have a feeling, and that feeling of the body often links stressfully to an emotion. So then what happens is you see people, especially when they still haven't opened up the body, as soon as they start to increase their intent, they start to get stressed, which is what maybe you would call Shen up, Qi up.
Yes.
It's like their mind is up, so then the energy rises, and then they start to get emotional. And I see people doing that in Santi. They focus forward, and then they just start to get wound up, you know. Whereas if the body is released, then that kind of network that loop is not broken, but disconnected a little bit, I guess. So then what you have is thought, intent. You feel it in the body, but all of that habitual tension is not there, so then it doesn't generate the emotional response.
Yeah.
And to me, that would be how I understand, to a certain degree, the sort of psychological aspect of stressless effort, like an intent that's strong that doesn't have the shin, the emotion behind it.
Yeah. And I think as I understand it, the terms Shen up, Qi down, and stressless effort can go deeper than that, but it's again like a more rudimentary level. You have an ability to work with the intent to a certain point, and then you go deeper into the song process and cleaning the mind and switching that skillful intent then to attention.
Okay. Yeah. So you would I guess if you're saying the usefulness for internal arts, I guess that's kind of a major one, isn't it? You've got a sort of feedback system in your body to train the mind to be in a concentrative state. Well, stressless effort, which is a term used in lots of things. Actually, a lot of some of the yoga teachers talk about sort of stressless effort in meditation or something like this. Yeah. But I guess if that makes Xingyi a very good practice for training that quality, at least.
Yeah. And the way that sorry, I'm totally losing my train of thought again.
It's okay.
Sorry. Forget what I was going to say. I'm lost.
That's all right.
Sorry,
pressure of being on camera.
Yeah. It's okay. I've never done this kind of thing.
No, the amount of times I've spoken on camera and I just no idea what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it happens to a lot of people. What they do is they interject with a story.
Yeah.
So like, well, back when I was a child and this was happening, I've noticed the pattern now, but I try to avoid that.
Yeah, I lost what I was going to say.
So the Xingyi you've been doing, I know that something else you've adopted, I've seen you doing a lot of with some of the others, is the spear, the Qiang. And it's an unusual weapon. I mean, it's a very common weapon, but it's certainly an unusual one to use in the martial arts. It's quite different because I think most people encounter the bow staff or something like that in martial arts quite early on, certainly in external arts, but the spear is very, very different. And I think Xingyi kind of epitomizes a spear more than anything else. I mean, historically, it came from there, right? Most likely. So, yeah, I wondered, what's your take on the spear? Because I know you've done quite a lot. I've seen you firing it out 1,000 times to try to hit a coin on a string. And, so you've been doing a lot of it.
I think the main quality that it seems to develop, at least to the stage that I've practiced with it, is kind of the aligning of the fibers into more dense kind of cables. Right. Takes all of the lines that you're building in the Santee and in the open hand techniques and then adds weight to those lines. So you build the lines, and then with the spear, it's just dropping the mass of a weapon into those elastic lines so that they build stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's like pressure testing the elastic quality of the body. Right. And
and even I think as well the spear, especially on like the bangqiang, where the foot comes up and the hands touch, you're basically holding the spear as far down it as you can on the end. I always feel there's a little bit of like, people don't talk about it this way, and maybe classically they wouldn't agree, but there's a kind of pull, It's like there's momentum pulling forward, and it's not that you snatch back or you let it lean, but it almost kind of tugs everything out a little bit. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got that kind of rotation and that pull, and I kind of like that on the spear side.
Which also builds that kind of forward quality with the intent. Yes. It just kind of keeps rolling on through the movements, through the forms.
Yes. Yeah. It's been funny teaching people Xingyi over these 3 years. Did we do it right from the start? We did, didn't we? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, right from the beginning. I remember doing Santee 3 years ago. And it's funny watching people drop like flies in their interest once they start to encounter the repetition of it. But it's interesting seeing like how when the mind and the body integrate, the Xing and Yi, the form and the intent starting to come together, which is such a major part of it and a harder skill than people think. That when they start to come together and they integrate, watching how the forms all start to adjust according to the quality of their mind. So you can see people's personalities through the shape of the form, right? Yep. And then also when they're starting to move, you can see there's a blip in their mind, and then the form is thrown out. Yes. That sort of neatness disappears because of that.
Yep.
Do you equate with that at all, or is that not something you find?
Totally. I think that's the quality that I'm talking about of the emotional kind of hang-ups or the personality coming through, when really you just want to be left with a clean movement, a clean expression of intent without those kind of qualities there. So when you're going through the form, and you see quite often when we're doing the practice with the Yi and then mobilizing the body, if it catches somewhere, it's usually some kind of stress in the effort.
You're putting it straight to the shoulder, which is what everybody catches. Right?
Yeah. And so I think that whole process of just cleaning the intent and allowing the body to release while moving at that kind of speed as well, it's a very useful aspect of the practice. Yeah.
And there's a principle we started to introduce, which I'm starting to show you. And it's funny, actually, because I'm 45 years old, and which is not that old, but it's not that young. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. And there's it's funny that the obvious power to more subtle powers, Mingjin to Anjin to Huajin. Mingjin, the most obvious one, involves the opening of the body out to create the what looks like a stamp. It looks like a stamp, but it's not. As you know. And that it's funny that when I'm doing this sort of power in and power out, back when I was in my 30s, I guess, early 30s or something, you could do that all day, like just power in, power out, power in, power out, power in, power out. The other day I was trying to teach you it and demonstrate it, you and a couple of one of the others in a Roman. And I suddenly realized it's funny how when you've transferred to the other stage, to the Anjin, going back to that Mingjin stage, my body felt it for about 4 days afterwards. I remember the next day I got out of bed and I was like, whoa, okay, legs are legs are not my fan right now.
Yeah, back to hitting that layer of the body.
Yeah. But that power is a funny one. Like the speed that comes from in Xingyi, what happens is the body is in a shape, and then obviously the upper body is moving. And often what happens is there's a lack of integration between the upper body and the lower body, the arms and the legs. Mm-hmm. So what you will see often in Xingyi is people will move their body and they'll issue the power, but then their legs aren't involved. And I would say that most Xingyi that you watch, because YouTube gives you a broad spectrum of people at different levels of Xingyi. You're not just looking at masters, you're looking at people that are learning and everything like this. Most Xingyi, their legs are completely not involved in what they're doing. Yeah. And the mistaken belief is that then the foot should stamp to generate the power, when actually what it is the dantian should draw all of the limbs in, so that if your body was like a cross, arms and legs, when the dantian closes, it draws everything in, and then at the end of the move, the dantian opens and it pushes the power equally to the hands and legs, so that your feet are driven into the ground as your hands are driven forward. And that power from the center is very specific to Xingyi. Like Bagua and Tai Chi don't use that, that sort of draw it in and draw it out. My point was, it was funny that, I used the dantian a huge amount in Tai Chi. Dantian rotation to send the power out, dantian rotation in Bagua Jiang to get the power like this. And then the further you go into Xingyi, of course, the earlier forces are left behind. And then returning to show you the Mingjin way, drawing and banging out, reminded me it's fucking hard work.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really, really hard work.
And that's one of the nice things about it, is that it's hard work on the body, it's exercise.
Yeah, but it's amazing how quick those lines disappear as well, like when your body transfers to something else into it. But that quality of dantian in, dantian out, I think that ties very much with the spear as well. Like the people I've seen that have managed to get that kind of power in to the dantian, power out, I don't think I've seen anyone do it who hasn't trained it with the spear.
Interesting.
I don't think so.
Do you think because the length of the weapon basically allows you to express the power kind of beyond your body, so that when you return to the body, then it has more force, essentially? It can express more strongly? I
think partially that, and I think also the drills. I mean, if you think of the Hebei Gong with the spear, these kind of rotational things that are purely from here, it's like when you're using your hands, the dantian can be involved, but it's easy to kind of, like it can fade into the background a little bit. But the spear, you don't have a choice. It has to drive from that dantian. Otherwise, you just look like you're waving a stick. Yeah. It's not a part of you. Yeah. The spear is a dantian weapon, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. Yeah. And I think that's what's generating that sort of connection to it that creates that Mingjin. And I think Xingyi is quite unique in that I don't think any of the other systems use that particularly.
Interesting.
They use that sort of drawing in and releasing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found that? There's hard work with the spear to find these things, or is
it? Yeah, it's just...
Because you've got a heavy spear now.
I do, yeah.
I taught you with a light one, then you went and bought a giant one.
Yeah, bought an extra large ironwood spear. And I'd say the way that it connects the body up, it just feels like unlike any other of the tools that we use. Like, I've done a little bit of the jian, and the way that kind of mobilizes the force through the body is much more subtle and refined in the way that it connects the dantian. It's not like this weightlifting for the dantian, essentially. That's what the spear feels like to me.
The sword's way more floaty. Yeah, they often attribute it to being like a phoenix or qihang, like a phoenix, whereas the spear is way more like grounded, as opposed to the wushu spear that's quite flicky or something like that. But Xingyi is not not into loose flicky power or anything like this. So Xingyi is like, what do you reckon? Is there a revival of Xingyi, or is that too much of a hope?
I'd hope so. Again, it's difficult with the niche that it fills. It's not as attractive to the very martial people and not as attractive to the very spiritually oriented people. So I think it's kind of destined to always be somewhat niche within the internal arts community, I think.
I remember that back in the, when's that? Wow, 90s? I'm going to get the date wrong or something. I don't know. Early days of martial art forums. It's funny, martial art forums used to be a lot better. You probably won't remember because you've you're of the age where martial art forums are fucking terrible. Like, if you go on a martial art forum, whether it be Facebook or one of the ones online, it's just a load of people arguing. And it's funny, the ones, in my opinion, of forums is often the ones with the least skill are the ones that are the most active on the forums. Because if they had any skill, well, they'd be training, they wouldn't be there. But I think also, it's not just that, it's like the forums make up for a lack of knowledge, because what happens in the real world, out there in the outside world, you show what you're doing and nobody's very impressed and nobody listens to you. Whereas you can go on a forum and you can type every day and you can kind of build up a reputation for yourself. And I think it kind of fills that insecurity or whatever, that thing they wanted from teaching, they can get it online instead, if you get what I mean, right? So they're a bit of a shit show these days. And I sort of very, very, very occasionally go on and look, and I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like it's a blind leading the blind, you know?
Yeah.
But that being said, back in the old days, back when everything was kind of new, there was a couple of forums that were pretty good, actually. And what was that called? Was it the Empty Flower Forum? Can't remember. It was a couple of guys who built this sort of martial art forum, and there was some quite interesting discussions taking place on there. And I remember the reason that's relevant is because it was run by these guys that were just obsessed with Xingyi.
Oh, yeah.
They were just obsessed. And I think it was funny because I'd been practicing Xingyi a little bit by then, but not to any sort of, I wouldn't say to any sort of deep level particularly. But I was fascinated by the fact that people could be obsessed with Xingyi. Like, that seemed such a strange obsession to me. And they sort of create these forums, but it just seemed to be a bunch of guys that got together and were just hitting Xingyi over and over again. And I didn't really get it because I was practicing Bagua and Tai Chi, which were far more interesting as far as I could see. But I think in some ways, even though we say Xingyi is more rudimentary, I think in some ways that's true. And then in other ways, I'll disagree a little bit. And I say the reason is because Xingyi is such a small system, right? What have we got? Santi, 5 techniques that are very similar, let's be honest. Well, on the outside at least. And then you've got the animals. But I mean, none of them are particularly long forms, are they? So you don't have anywhere to hide in a plethora of moves. You know what I mean? So what I mean, like in Tai Chi, say you do Tai Chi, and you can do the 108 Yang style form. You have no internal skill. It doesn't matter when you're learning in some ways, because you've got 108 moves to explore. Like, there's so much to learn. You can kind of lose yourself in the movements a little bit. So it takes so much time to do that. I think you kind of get tricked into doing an external form of of Tai Chi.
Yes.
Whereas Xingyi, how the fuck are you going to do that? Because how are you going to turn that into an external?
Yes, I think I see what you're saying. So
you don't have a choice, right? You have to find the internal mechanic.
Yeah, and with each technique, it's like the sheer amount of repetition that you put into the 5 element techniques. There has to be something more to it than just the choreography. Because it's, the choreography is relatively simple, and you do it again and again and again and again. So clearly there's something else going on inside with the mechanism of movement. Yeah, and you can't avoid it. There's nothing you can do. And until you get the internal side of it, like the Dantian-driven work and things like that, you can't understand some of the sayings in Xingyi or some of the things they say. So, for example, one of the things is Hung Chuan, the earth element, they always say is the hardest of the techniques, right? And people will say it's like one of the most complicated things you learn in martial arts. But like when I first started doing Xingyi, which actually Sun style Xingyi, funny enough. I know you're a fan of Sun Lutang.
Yes. But I never learned it to any depth. But it was just the movement. I couldn't understand. Oh, actually, I did Sun style, then a Hebei system. But I couldn't really understand why everyone kept saying Hung Chuan was really hard, because it was just a form of choreography. So it's just a crossing thing. And it's only when I got a bit older and further in, and then understood the internal mechanics, I was like, actually, Hung Chuan is really, really difficult. That makes sense.
If you look at it just as an external technique, then it looks like I think you've described it very similar to some karate kind of techniques, or that's what people mistake it for being.
Something called uchi uri uki.
Yeah, people mistake it for being like that, but actually, the mechanisms inside are relatively complicated.
Very, and that's what it was for me. And to be fair, that's, I think, when I was taught, that's what I was taught it as. It was just like a, inside uchi-uki from Japanese art, sort of laid out a little bit. But that would, I think as well. Back in those days, there was a lack of information coming over from the East, and people did what they could. And I think also that a lot of people learned by emulating or copying or learning off YouTube or something, or, well, whatever came before, VHS, I suppose, before YouTube, which didn't really have much information. So the problem with an internal art is you can't copy the insides from a video footage.
Yes.
Yeah, not so easily. So I'm going to keep pressing you.
Yeah.
I know you're not amazingly comfortable on camera. This is a new thing for you.
Yeah, just new to it. Yeah.
Even though you're on camera in class, but
I guess so. Yeah, and just being up on stage, you'd think. But I don't know.
It's not the same. A camera is different, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, don't stress. Only about 4,000 or 5,000 people will watch you on this. So
okay.
Okay. So I want to press you a little bit on the animals.
Sure.
Because I don't think you've done a little bit, but you never really encountered the animal forms till after a few years. You've done a little bit with me in the past.
Yeah.
But not. I would say not really.
Not much.
So I think probably here in Bali is probably when you started the animal forms in any real depth, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. We did
right?
one of the forms many years ago, 6 years ago. We did the hawk. Right. But I think you taught it in a more basic form just to find kind of elastic connections for some other stuff that we were studying. It wasn't. I don't think we put the kind of characteristic qualities of the hawk into it. At least I don't remember you talking about it in that much depth. And in the way that we've been studying them recently, it's definitely each animal has very specific kind of different qualities and ways of mobilizing the body that are quite interesting.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm quite curious. It's partially for my curiosity as well, because I'd say I don't really grill people that I teach.
Yeah.
And it's quite fun, actually.
Sure.
Maybe you could give me maybe it's too much of an open question, but maybe you could explain to me, or what your take in is, right or wrong, on the animals themselves. I don't mean individually necessarily, but why are they different? What function do they serve? Like, what's your take on the animals? Because they're quite different from the five-element fist, right?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting how different they are. It's like it's a whole different internal body. Each one is like a different line of connection, a different set of mechanisms inside that train a totally different quality into your body and also into your mind. Like the mindset of each animal feels very distinct. And it's interesting because I find that the primary benefit that I can see, aside from talking about applications or when you actually get into studying that side of it, where each animal is kind of its own fighting style in a way, the different lines that you connect up in the different animals, it's like it teaches you just how malleable the inside of the body can be, or how you can kind of switch between different states just under the force of the yi, just switching between different mental qualities. The rooster has this very elastic, sharp, everything tight and tensile, and very forward. It almost feels like the most Xingyi of the Xingyi animals. It's just very forward, very kind of aggressive quality to it.
I think that's probably fair, yes.
Yeah, you compare it to the bear, which almost feels like Tai Chi in a way, the way that it mobilizes the force up and down through like descending and ascending the Qi, and then just dropping everything very low and swinging the power into the shoulders and generating force that way. It's like, completely different set of lines, a completely different mode for the body. It feels like it kind of stretches your capacity for your internal body to kind of change between different states. That's what I say, that the forms at least, and the body transformation aspect of the animals that's what it's for.
What do you think is switching? Because I have a theory on it, but it's not a definite. What is it that's changing? Because obviously your mind, your yi is a trigger for it, but there must be, in order to bring it through into the world manifest, which martial arts will always require, something has to be changing, right? Yeah,
the shape of the cavities, I guess, the way that everything is just arranged inside. Yeah, like when you switch into the rooster mode, it's like everything on the inside of the body tightens onto a line, and the power is just driven forward in that spear-like quality, which is one of the key words for the rooster. And with the bear, everything just goes out and much more Tai Chi-like in the way that it's structured. So the cavities rearrange, something like that.
I agree. The cavities was I was going to point out, actually, the sort of way that the space is if you're not familiar with the terminology of listening to this, the cavities, we don't mean your anus and stuff. It's the rearranging of the large spaces around the ribs, diaphragm, back, hips, abdominal cavity, things like this, right? Yeah. So it's that thing again, that the contractive power, contractive muscles, the stuff you exercise in the gym and things like that, they don't have a malleability. I mean, they do to a certain degree, but they're always going to run on certain patterns, which is leverage and contraction. And you can put your arm in a different position here as opposed to here, as opposed to here, which would be weird. But ultimately, that's still the same kind of plasticity in your body, right? But once you're on expansive power, which means the mind can get into, when all the cavities start to change, there's a different kind of plasticity that switches. And it's more like it reshapes it just reshapes your whole body. It's not just, it's more than just where your power comes from, isn't it? It's like everything just shifts. Like the bear literally makes you feel, I don't know if heavier is the right word, just like gravity is stronger, which I guess is the same, but it's not quite the same, is it? Like,
and just very opposite to the rooster. Everything tight and on a line and driving forward that pecking energy that they discuss in the rooster. Just a completely a different internal body is the way that I kind of conceptualize it. You could even imagine you could stand in a kind of neutral stance and just switch between the different kind of internal states of the animals, and the outer posture, you just be stood there neutrally, but inside the cavities rearrange into a completely different set of lines, a different arrangement.
So I'm always curious then. Because there's 12 animals, 13, 12 and a half.
Yes.
If you're not familiar with Xingyi, what it is 5 elements and then 12 animals, which are kind of 12, like say, different body organizations. But bear and eagle are also combined into a form usually. So you have bear, eagle, and bear and eagle. So it's sort of 12 plus 1. Usual Chinese counting or in Chinese arts counting. But say 12 animals, 12 ways to move in the body. I would say that after all these years, I'm not bad, I can probably do 8 of them. I can probably do 8 of the 12, and it's certainly not to do with coordination. That's not a problem. Well, there's some of the snakes a bit of a bitch to coordinate, isn't it? But it's not to do with the coordination. I don't have, after all these years, the malleability. What do I not have?
Maybe certain ones just don't suit your body, suit the way that your body functions. I don't know.
I think that's right. I can't. It's like there's a few animals that I've never successfully found the malleability that my cavities and tissues will line up in the way to deliver the power. So I can perform it, and I can do it. I can even hit people with it, but I know that it's the wrong power. So as weird as it sounds, I'm doing the tiger, but I'm not really. I know I'm actually doing the rooster. Like it's the alignment of the rooster inside, even though it's the tiger on the outside. And tiger, I can't do that at all.
And maybe it's even
no tiger.
Maybe it's even the mind and body are an integrated unit. So the malleability of the mind, your mental qualities just match certain animals. And
there's no warrior in me. That's what that means for the tiger.
No rage.
No, all I've got is roost. I could do some. I'm not like the bears, all right. So I don't know. How many do you think? Come on, give us a bit of how many do you think? Honestly, you can differentiate between, because clearly rooster and bear, which is quite good because they're kind of diametrically opposed to one another.
Rooster and bear, they're quite clear, quite distinct.
It's easy sometimes with the extreme opposites, isn't it?
Yeah, and certain ones, I don't quite fully understand the qualities that they are meant to put into the tissue structure. I can kind of see, I don't know, they seem almost more just quality of movement, but I think that might just be because I haven't gone as deep into them. Like the swallow, to me, is much more flitting and kind of speed, darting, the kind of way that you move from high to low. Those qualities seem to me more qualities of movement rather than a rearrangement of the tissues inside. But maybe I just haven't studied the swallow deeply enough.
I think the swallow form is actually easier to understand a little bit. Not that you should always require cross-training, like there's that whole argument of just going deep into one thing, but I really think the more you do Bagua, the more you understand the swallow.
That makes sense. It's the most Bagua-esque from what I've seen. Even just the shapes are quite
feels
often.
Like it's borrowed mechanics from it.
Yeah, okay.
But Xingyi's, it's very unusual to find it that's very pure, especially the Hebei systems. Hebei systems are, which we do, is often has borrowed principles from Bagua, you will see. I think a lot of people would deny that and say that it's a pure Hebei lineage, but I think they had a lot of encounters with Bagua. There's the mythology of the Bagua master and the Bagua master and Xingyi master fighting themselves to a standstill or whatever. Sure, whatever, legend.
Yes.
But they kind of point to something, and I think there was a lot of crossover. So I think like the Dai style, the old sort of Islamic systems and things like that, they tend to be a little bit more like pure Xingyi, like pure 6 harmony based stuff, whereas the Hebei system, I think, there's quite a few of the animals I think are influenced by Bagua a little bit.
Interesting. And I'm curious if you have more to say, the differences between the Dai style and Hebei, like what was the evolution there from your understanding?
Well, I couldn't speak about it with too much authority because I've never really studied that. My Dai style Xingyi consists of one 4-day workshop. So it's like very far from professing to really understand it.
Yeah.
But for a start, it's quite abstracted. Like, it's interesting that its movements, especially at the beginning, I would say even more abstractly removed from literal combat shapes. And maybe Dai style practitioners would disagree. Certainly it turns into something very practical, but at the beginning, the kind of movements they're using to align everything are very interesting, but far more focused on the Liuhe, the 6 harmonies, or at least the first 3, very, very strongly. So you kind of, jargon-wise, I would say the Dai style, in my opinion, and again, I apologize to Dai style practitioners because I'm not an expert, the 6 harmonies is more like, feels like 90% of what they do. It's like based just on that. Whereas I think Hebei's system now is 6 harmonies, but not to a high, same sort of depth. It's like it's moved away. It's sort of 60% of it. 40% of it is something else, more about this kind of, like I say, integration and adjustment from other styles. Yeah. And you can definitely see the spear influence, I would say, became a lot stronger in the Hebei system.
So would you say the Dai style, maybe from what I understand from the little bits of history I know about the Dai style and the evolution, is that it was more focused on the engine and all of the internal mechanisms, and then when it evolved into the Hebei system, you have all of this influence of the different martial artists, maybe from different styles. You say the bear is quite similar to a lot of Shuaijiao drills. The Bagua influence on the swallow. So then they kind of take that engine and then put it into different systems, different forms, different martial applications. And
I think so. That's what it feels like to me. But again, as not being a Dai style practitioner, I wouldn't be able to speak with much authority on that. I know that certainly historically the view is that when Hebei was the kind of first system that became a bit more sort of publicly, widely taught. So the nature of something becoming more widely taught and widely spread is great, but it also tends to get modified a bit more. That's the nature of it. Like, certainly when the Yang style lineages and Tai Chi became more widespread, they became modified more, so there was more variation. So I think I think that's what happened to it a little bit.
Interesting.
But again, like I'm not a not a practitioner of the Dai style at all.
Yeah, I find that quite interesting. And I like this idea of the way that the Xingyi system started to integrate all these different styles and kind of like it seems almost like an internal arts version of MMA, the way that they kind of take bits and pieces from different arts and then kind of merge them into their integrated fighting system. They have different animals for different stages of combat or different parts of application.
Yes. Yeah, it's very true. I think that like there's this whole idea that the better you get at internal arts, the more they all become one. And I think actually it's the opposite. I think certainly at the start. So with Xingyi, when you see people that I think haven't quite gotten deep into the animals or really understood what they're about, then they're all the same. So you see someone do rooster, you see someone do tiger, you see someone snake, swallow, dragon, whatever. It's the same. It's the same mechanic being done over and over again. So they're just different movements with the same body. And you see that quite often. Whereas it should be, they are all quite distinct. They're all quite separate from or at least in my case, 8 out of 12.
Yes.
The best I could do. And I think that, what has happened was they definitely borrowed. I mean, martial art is a pragmatic bunch anyway. If somebody does something, MMA is no different. If you're using that as an example, when they find something that works, it gets incorporated. They don't care where it's from. So bear in some of the Xingyi systems actually is more like an uppercut and a maybe an elbow. But in the system we do, it's almost all done in like a low marbu or ban marbu, and
wrestling.
It's basically stolen from wrestling.
Yeah.
They've integrated bits into it. Yeah. Yeah, I think Xingyi's it's an interesting system for that. And I think because of its age, it's older than the other two internal arts, or at least, maybe Bagua traces its roots back to some kind of shamanic circle booking. But it's older than the other arts, so there's going to be more of that, more modification, more adjustment of it as a system.
Yeah. I find I just really like that aspect of the animals, the variety, and the fact that, variety, but not just for variety's sake. I think it's interesting, the concept of kind of you specialize in a few different animals and you kind of develop your fighting style as whatever ones kind of work with your body. But then you have...
mine's not the tiger.
No. Yeah, mine either. The tiger I struggle with as well.
Tiger is way harder than people realize.
I don't know what it is about it exactly.
It's very difficult to get the power in that one.
Just all the shapes are quite awkward. I mean, they look like they should have power. It was quite aggressive.
In my mind, they have power. Then I hit something and they don't have power.
Yeah, it's strange. But the way that you have this broad spectrum of different techniques and different styles, and gives you, well, we haven't gone much into the applications, but I imagine as you develop as a Xingyi practitioner, then you have a kind of broad array of tools at your disposal, and you can kind of fit them in different situations, but then really you have a core set of techniques or a core set of qualities that match your body.
Yeah, that's one of the stories that was told to me by one of the people that taught me. I don't think I've seen it repeated many places, but I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, I've never seen it repeated in writing very much. But yeah, I mean, he was saying that in the Xingyi lineages, when they were fighting on the Leitai platforms and whatever, that the practitioners would learn the 12, then specialize in 3 or 4 that suited their bodies. You did all 12, but you never really sort of aimed to be particularly proficient at them, which I can see. Like, some animals suit my body a lot more. Yeah.
And it makes sense. And I imagine, you still study the 12, so then you have those tools at your disposal. Yeah. But in any style, if you were studying Bagua for combat, there would be probably certain aspects of the syllabus that match your build and your character, and that's what you'd specialize in. But you have a broad array of other techniques for
certain systems. Like Chung style is definitely better for short, squat people. Yin style is definitely bigger. I know actually one of the heads of Xingyi is quite short and squat. Maybe you wouldn't like me saying it's not very flattering, is it? But it's definitely more striking, better for longer limbed people. So you get that, and that sort of reflects the stylistic preferences of the people that founded it. Applications of Xingyi is kind of winter's mission for you, and like starting to use it. I think part of the problem with applied uses of Xingyi, why applications, like there's this argument with applications in martial arts, should they be done from day one? And I think in external martial arts, I think they should be actually. I think if you're learning long fist, Wing Chun, White Crane, Mantis, things I consider external systems widely, based on sort of conventional body mechanics, you probably should learn the applications right from very soon. Maybe not right from the start, but very soon. But I think in internal arts, it's a problem because say you have something like Xingyi, right? And then what is Xingyi based on? It's based upon as we said, the Yi, your intent, interacting with the body, so that then when you change your intent, it reorganizes your body to create a different weapon, if you like, when you're clashing with the other person. So it's not about the techniques, it's about the body quality more than anything else. So if you haven't got to the stage where your Yi can change your body, the plasticity doesn't switch, the applications in some ways, beyond being shown what they're for, so you know what the move's for, but too much repeated practice almost becomes counterproductive.
Because you'll just be doing it with the muscles, and your body will learn, you'll compensate with just external mechanisms.
And it's quite hard to train that out.
It's
quite hard to train that. Once you've built a reaction, that when I encounter another person, that's what I do. It's kind of tricky. It's kind of difficult. And I apply that to all the internal arts, which is why my opinion is, and it's not a popular opinion, I know, that applications in the internal arts should be done a bit later. So in the meantime, if people want to do applications for the being, they should actually learn external boxing,
and just
kickboxing,
boxing
sandar
stuff.
kind of work
that kind of
that's,
stuff,
that's a little divorced from the internal work. So it's like you're learning to fight externally with the sandar or whatever. And then as you get more proficient in the internal arts and you can control them properly with the energy and the jin and the yi and the xing and all the other stuff, then you can start to kind of almost replace the external sandar with this kind of internal way of fighting.
Yes,
I think
makes sense.
And that's always been my logic to it, because I definitely I was taught the applications right from the beginning, and I used to do a lot of sparring and fighting, so I had a big mouth, and I definitely had to retrain them. It's like I developed all this internal ability to move in the forms, and then every time I did anything with a partner, it just all disappeared. It's like, right, I have to go back to square one, because maintaining those qualities is difficult under pressure.
Just the amount of time that Roman and I have to spend getting yourself lined up, getting in the perfect position, and then you kind of run through the internals a few times, use the yi, and then execute, and I just switched to an external force. And then
by then you could have given a right hook.
Exactly.
Totally,
So the amount of attention to the finer details, I think, is part of what prevents people from getting into it.
I don't think there's many people that can use internal arts for fighting these days. I don't think so. And as it's being proved over and over again, when internal martial artists in China usually decide to try to fight someone from MMA and it goes badly. And it's not the most important part of the training for me, but it is worth noting that it's just very complicated. And that's why these arts are difficult, or fit in a weird niche. Because ultimately, if you want to fight, you are better off going to MMA or kickboxing. It's just a fact. And I know that Kung Fu people don't want to admit this. Or internal martial artists especially don't want to admit this, because they got this part of their nature is insecure about the fact that this guy doing MMA may be able to beat them. But of course they can. You're spending 20 hours working on form and standing and releasing a muscle and developing expansive power. They're spending 20 hours punching things. So they're going to be much better at punching things than you are for a very long time. And the internal arts, almost, you have to try so many years of them before they're functional. It's a very inefficient way to fight. And I think the problem is, by the time you get that far into it, you've become so fascinated by body movement that the fighting almost becomes a little bit irrelevant anyway. But maybe Xingyi is a bit more of a option for that, because it's more of a succinct system.
And I was going to ask, so Tai Chi, seems to be very much the case. It becomes so divorced from the application in a lot of the study of push hands. It's study of movement of chi and internal force. The level of skill that you need with the internals in order to apply it is just insane. But
we should say with the Yang style systems. The Chen style systems actually are a bit more grapply or throwy. But in the systems you do the Yang styles, that's definitely true.
And so I'm wondering, Xingyi is just, as usual, this common comparison. It's just more external, so easier to apply quicker, but still
difficult.
Takes a long time.
Difficult. I think that, especially with something like the internal arts, and again, the fighting is not, most people are becoming into the internal arts after a while. That's not really their main interest. But anyone who thinks Tai Chi is an efficient fighting system doesn't understand fighting. They just don't. They don't understand combat. And I know people listening to this will be like, no, I do Tai Chi and it makes me tough as fuck. And the thing is, they always say that, and then you watch a video of them doing something martial and they don't understand how to use it for fighting either, because it's such an abstract art. It's so intricate and complicated that it is very, very difficult to use for that.
And something interesting.
Xingyi has Bang Chuan.
Yes, which is very clearly it's a punch. But something interesting that I've experienced is what we've talked about, people thinking that Fa Jin is like an ultimate weapon, or
Tai Chi Fa Jin.
Tai Chi Fa Jin is some kind of ultimate weapon. It just is like the greatest form of fighting available. But
it's definitely not the case.
And it's been interesting for me to. I learned Tai Chi with you originally before getting into Xingyi, and before getting into a lot of applications. We did quite a fair bit of push hands back in the day, and learning Fa and those kinds of qualities. And I, even though you would talk about how it is very much a skill set for a certain thing, like within the push hands platform, you have the skill to issue Jin and kind of capture people's force and move them around in that context. It doesn't apply to fighting unless you know how to fight first. I still developed a kind of misconception, or like it felt martial to me because I had no martial background, so I hadn't studied anything.
Person involved.
Yeah, so it's like this feels like fighting because we're in this context of like pushing forces against each other and then redirecting the forces. But then, as I've been learning more kind of external fighting and boxing with you and with Henry and Roman, applying more, martial external techniques, then push hands has become increasingly clear just how abstract it is. Like, wow, this feels not martial at all. By comparison.
Fajin, and especially in something like push hands. Some people will train push hands as different things. Of course, they turn it into a kind of wrestling. But if you're talking about Fajin type push hands, light contact to uproot the other person, it's a mug's game to think that that is what fighting is like. And you're right. A lot of people do get sucked into it. I did as well. Like especially my sort of late teens, early 20s. I was like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah, you can make somebody fly several feet. And,
But if you've ever done any fighting, you know that's not that's not what it is.
Yeah, and I hadn't done any fighting, so then it's been interesting getting more into fighting and recognizing that push hands in particular is a specific skill set and a specific tool for developing internal force. And then I can see how that starts to merge with more martial applications and techniques as time goes on. But push hands itself is it's not fighting.
Push hands is to train the mobilization of force between two people and catching the other person's structure. So it's like a skill set that maybe a martial artist could load onto what they're doing. And it is true that sometimes in combat, like the quality of touch will produce some strange results or something. But I think that anybody who's honest, if they do any fighting, knows that as soon as any confrontation, they end up punching someone in the head or something. It's like all your fudging goes out the window, and that's what you end up doing, which is why everybody who studies that sort of quality of touch, they're already starting to go deeper into something else. They're starting to study the sort of nature of interactions between pressure and non-pressure and contact, and it's like you say, it's an abstraction on martial arts. Is it useful for martial artists to learn? I think so, because there's a lot of skill sets there, but no, it's not a weapon. Like, not at all. Yeah.
And you know,
Bong Chuan is a weapon.
Yes, it is.
Bong Chuan is a weapon. Pao Chuan is a weapon.
And I can see how the skills from developing push hands cross over a little bit already, just in the way that body connection or like developing the ability to kind of relate to another person more skillfully than just brute force against force. Like when you're when we're going through some Xingyi application and I'm taking the time to like get the internals lined up, I think a lot of the skills from push hands do start to cross over. But again, it's like not at the level of full speed application, not anywhere close. So
I think probably people could. I mean, the stories of people in the past, it sounds like maybe people did, but I don't know who would focus on it to that degree. I mean, my friend Adam, Adam Meisner, who's gone very, very far into it, I would say is kind of peak level of Fajin for sure. I mean, he himself would say he doesn't teach fighting. It's about something else, and you hear him talk, and all he talks about is meditation and mental qualities and things like that. And that's what happens to everybody who studies the internal arts, really. They end up down that route, or, which I think is a healthier route, or they end up doing an external version of it. So when people say, oh, no, I can use Yang style for fighting, what you watch is they either do an external thing that vaguely looks like Tai Chi, I've chopped you in the neck, or they have such a preset, safe, organized thing that it's not really fighting. The guy's not trying to hurt you. You're pushing hands with each other. The guy's not trying to headbutt you and spit in your face and gouge your eyes. That's not what's going on.
Interesting.
But ultimately, I think if you're going to put hours and hours and hours into something, which you are going to in the eternal arts, there's no way getting around that. It is hours and hours of practice. You may as well train something. If you're going to put all those hours in, it may as well be the thing that's going to most have the biggest impact on your life. So unless you're living in the middle of fucking, I don't know, well, these days, parts of UK cities, shall we say, but unless you're used to say, used to say, like, when I was talking about this, some bizarre example of some war-torn country, but England's getting a bit stabby now.
Yes.
So unless is Canada the same as Canada? Not yet.
That bad.
Not bad, yeah.
I mean, it's getting there.
England's getting a bit, certain places anyway.
Yeah.
Not where I grew up, but.
Yeah.
So unless you're living in those kind of places, it's not really even particularly good use of your time to spend hours and hours and every day studying. You're better off studying like for your mind and your body and your health and everything to be at a higher level and function more efficiently, so you can then kill all that health with cigars. Sure. Or you train for cultivation if you if you believe in such things and that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, interesting.
Like you didn't when you were younger.
Yeah, didn't at all.
Now you're a total woo-woo hippie.
Yes, and that's my main interest. But it's interesting because, I don't know, I, at this stage in my life, see fighting or learning how to fight and how to be comfortable under that kind of stress in that kind of situation as useful for cultivation. But imagine it's just stages. It's like you have to drop it at some point. But it definitely
drop an obsession with it.
Yeah, like not make it the focus of your practice. No. It feels like at this stage, at my age, and I'm sort of catching up a little bit because ideally I would have started with martial arts much younger. But
you're right.
Yeah.
How old are you?
28.
28. Shut up.
But I don't know. I think martial arts to me right now feels like one of the most effective things for improving my Nei Gong, improving my kind of mental qualities. The ability to be calm under those kinds of stressful situations. To me, that makes my mind the most clear afterwards, like after doing that kind of practice.
Totally. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for not learning to fight.
Yeah.
I just think you as you're doing, I know you're doing, you learned it in a more efficient way, which is externally, ultimately at the beginning. I mean, as you know, I'm 45 and not majorly interested in that.
Yeah.
But you've seen my training room out the back. There's a heavy bag there. And Wednesday night, I'm teaching you to throw and grapple, and I still do a lot of wrestling and shui jiao. So there's a lot of, but it's external, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm suplexing someone over my shoulder. It's not done with any internal force. It's done using leverage in the body. Yeah. I think all young men should learn to fight.
Yeah.
I think if they don't learn to fight, I used to be more liberal on it, actually. I used to think, well, some are interested, some are not. But all right, not all. But so I think 99%.
There's always exceptions, but it just seems so essential for
99% of men should learn to fight.
Yeah, just for the male character. Yeah. It just seems,
and that's not going to happen through Tai Chi.
No, So it has to be a stage, and it's just I always have this thing. I get bothered when it's not something that you practice now and you just practice it all the way until the end. It's like you have to go through these kind of phases, and so it will have to be a focus of your practice, but then you have to learn to let go of it at a certain point, that interest in fighting. And so it's just something to be aware of, the kind of stages of your life, and there's just different things to focus on at different times. And
you don't have to be a trained killer, but you need to be able to look after yourself. It's like I see all the that new movement, maybe it's not new, but the movement I see more online now, like men's coaches, things like that, and all the things that men's coaches are talking about. What do they make them do? Like primal screaming together, or I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
But all of the stuff they say that men's coaches should do, or what men should do, is all taken care of by learning to fight anyway. Because they say learn better body language, posture up. Well, fighting does that. Yeah. So fighting takes care of your body language. Yeah. That's that done. If you do it well, because you learn good posture, you learn good confidence, you learn good body mechanics, you learn spatial awareness. There we go. There's your body language taken off. Most men are walking around in fear of other men, whether they even admit it or not, in their subconscious. And I think the vast majority of men might not admit this, but they're going, if I had a disagreement with this guy, could he kill me? It's just a primal thing. That takes care of that, And then you've also got your confidence, your assertiveness. That takes care of that. Yeah. You've then got the male comfort with, because ultimately, maybe I'm too old. I was born in 1980, so my influence was Arnie and Schwarzenegger and Van Damme. And the greatest martial arts of all time, Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Don't forget that man. Fucking legend. Fat legend, but a legend. Is... I think the ultimate thing with a male is to shoulder responsibility and also to be able to look after the ones you love. And I couldn't imagine being a young or slightly older male and not feeling like I could protect the person that's walking next to me in public. What are you going to do? I mean, basically, otherwise you're just walking around with a big target saying, come and abuse me or something. So I do think that, aside from what we're saying, that internal arts are a hard route to go, all young men should learn to fight because it takes care of all of those things. Maybe women too, but I can't speak for women. I don't know. I don't have a personal experience of being one, so I'm not sure.
It feels essential for me, and just from the deficiencies that I see in a lot of male character, it just fills all that out.
Yeah, there's a psychological trap to be aware of as well, and you see it. And I don't want to harp on about sort of internet discussions, but internet is very much a place where you can see what everybody thinks, right? Well, not anymore, because now it's all bots and AI. So you used to be able to see what everybody thinks, but now you realize it's like, 5% of the discussions, the rest is all AI. But when it was human beings having a conversation with each other, you could see the mindset. And you realize the way that many martial artists, especially in the Chinese martial arts, I don't see it so much in MMA and stuff like that, because they're obviously sparring all the time and very visceral and very down to earth. And I don't see it so much in the Japanese arts like karate and stuff, because Kaikishinkai, and there's a lot of sparring in it. But in the Chinese martial arts, there's less of that. So they talk about combat like it's this terrifying thing. Like they say, like when you've overcome sort of the fighting, you're a real man, you're a warrior or something like that. And you can hear the undertone that they're still frightened of physical violence. They're still frightened of it.
Yes.
And I think that is showing that it's not really working, or they're not really doing what they say they're doing. Because one of the things I learned from, getting hit, actually, more than hitting other people, from getting hit, was that actually it's usually okay.
It's okay.
It's like, it's all right. Like, you're walking around with a big fucking shiner for a couple of weeks, weren't you? A black eye after
and that's
somebody walloped you, and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah,
right?
And the martial arts is fun. It's like to me, it's just the most kind of engaging sport you can play, and a sport that also develops capability in life in general. And not to be down on sports or somebody learning soccer for the sake of soccer. It's just an interest, and it's good for their body and all of that, and good for their mind. I'm sure it develops a lot of crossover qualities, but there's something to martial arts itself. You just get comfortable being in that kind of confrontational situation with other people, and it just becomes a game and like fun and enjoyable to be in that kind of situation, so you don't have stress around it. And you develop a really lovely kind of camaraderie with the people that you practice with, because you hit each other in the face, and then you get used to just punching each other and like throwing each other around, and you kind of learn about the strengths and weaknesses of yourself and your training partner, and sometimes you fuck up and sometimes they fuck up, and you just develop this kind of playful kind of mindset around fighting.
It's amazing how close you feel to someone when they've punched you in the head several times and you've choked them out, or something. That's where that comes from. Yeah, for sure. And that it's like, then the study goes deeper and deeper, and then the internal arts are a funny one, because say you go, this is more Nei Gong or something, or Nei Dan, like, what I'm starting to realize is the further you go into it, you end up kind of studying the nature of fear and your attachment to it, I guess, on another level. And you realize that, as my teachers said to me for years and years and years, I didn't really understand it for a long time, because I couldn't equate with it, the kind of fear of death, fear of your own death as well as other people's. And there are lots of writings are about that. I'm sure you've read.
Yeah. It's
Buddhist
all over
and Hindu scriptures.
Many traditions talk about fear of death and
I remember
memento mori and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I remember reading it when I was younger, especially when you're young and you think you're immortal. It's like, I couldn't equate with that at all. I couldn't realize it. But then the further and further you go in and you study the abstraction of human nature and the internal acts, you realize actually fear of death underpins an awful lot of what you're doing. You don't realize how at the root of your very nature, all of those survival instincts that form who you are, it is. So then when you go deeper, you get to a point where, and I'm not saying I've mastered this, where the fear of death is gone, like complete comfort with the idea of dying. It's like, okay, whatever, the body, whatever, moving on. And then that brings another level to combat, because you realize, well, what's the worst that could happen? I die?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that to me is where the internal and the external come together, because you learn to combat, you learn to look after the ones you love and develop all that. But ultimately, at the back of your mind, it's like, well, the worst that happens, I die.
And that's interesting, because then it leads to a kind of mindset where, what is it? I think it's a quote from Musashi that I was reading recently, where he talks about...
Yeah, you're a fan, huh?
Yeah, he's inspiring martial artist, extremely dedicated.
He was famous for not being amazingly hygienic.
Was he?
You know this,
Did
right?
you smell?
Have I got this right? I'm sure Musashi was the guy who would not take a shower or a bath for a very long time because mentally he felt undefended.
Interesting.
Vulnerable. I might have got that wrong. Maybe that's somebody else. But
the smell was to ward off people?
I might be besmirching the good name of Musashi, but I believe there was a period of time where he believes that you weren't supposed to wash because you were vulnerable in the bath.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. That's maybe a bit paranoid, but
so he was a smelly warrior.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's I think I'll paraphrase it, but it's something like, you can abandon your body, but don't abandon your virtue, was the quote. And so then, if you don't have that, to me speaks to him having some understanding of basically, if you're afraid of death, then you might try and preserve your life at the cost of your virtue. So if you needed to defend someone, or you needed to do something important and it would cost you your life, you might try and save yourself rather than save the person that you are needing to defend, or not take that next step to do something that would be the right thing to do because you're afraid of the consequences to yourself. You can see how that would cross over into spirituality, I think.
And I think it's, out of all of the things I've said in public, which I do a lot of speaking in public.
Yes, you do.
All the fucking time. And I love speaking in public on stages. And it's sometimes you say things that rub people up the wrong way. And the funny thing that surprised me was one of the biggest things I ever said that upset a lot of people I was teaching, when I said that one of the greatest qualities you can have as a male is to be prepared to die.
Yes. Yeah,
I remember. For the protection of other people around you.
I remember that podcast.
I didn't think that was a controversial view, but it actually upset a lot of people. And they're like, why should you die for someone you don't know? And it's like, look, if there's some woman or child being attacked, my job, my responsibility as a male, I'm really sorry, that's the unjust nature, is I'm supposed to go and throw myself in the face of danger. Whether that child or a woman is a complete dickhead, I don't know anything about them. It's not to do with their personality, but my job is to put myself in danger for such things. And I don't, that's, I think goes back to that quote. I think it's an important quality. Yeah. Because thankfully you probably never will have to do that.
Yeah, but the capability...
The preparedness for it.
Yeah, and the capability being there allows you to not worry about that side of your nature. If that kind of thing were to happen, you know that you're capable of making that kind of sacrifice, I guess, in theory.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny that you've never studied the Japanese arts, I don't think.
No.
Yet it's Musashi, the Book of Five Rings, I presume, that's caught your interest. Yeah. It's funny, there's a similar thing with me. I did do Japanese arts when I was younger, Kendo, Iaido, and karate, and whatever, but some others. But it's funny, it's a samurai saying that stayed with me, actually, as well. And it actually applies to meditation more than anything else, but the saying is, paraphrased again, the samurai should sit and wait for the bodies of their enemies to float by. As in, sit on the side of the river and the corpses will float by you. And I remember hearing that thinking, well, the Japanese are quite extreme. But it always struck me as that kind of meditational quality, that the bodies of your enemy being the sort of distortions in your nature or something, eventually they will just float by you in the river while you sit there. And I think sometimes the samurai masters were very good at
the pithy and clear quotes.
The samurai should sit by the river till the bodies of their enemies float by.
So I'm just curious, like when I joined the school, we didn't
underage.
Underage, as you remind me. we didn't do Xingyi for a long time. It was I think there was one course that I missed. I was gutted to miss.
Did I do a Xingyi course?
Yeah, it was that one in the hotel in Portugal that you recorded it back in the day. And that was right after my first retreat, when I think the whole retreat we were going to do Xingyi is the last week or something. Then we didn't get around to it because
sounds like me.
Took us quite a while to get through the Tai Chi and the Bagua. But then for those 5 years, it wasn't really an emphasis of the teaching. And then I remember the first time you ever taught me Xingyi actually was just, we were in a class in Portugal. We'd been doing Tai Chi, we'd been doing Bagua, we'd been doing Nei Gong, and then you just said to the whole class, like, feet together, 45, and then we went through the linked fist, and I was like completely lost. Just, oh my God, we're doing Xingyi. And it was quite sudden. And then it kind of fluctuated over the years. We'd do little phases of Xingyi here and there, but then recently you seem to have been really getting a lot more into it, or emphasizing it more in your teaching. We've been talking about like how useful we've been finding it for people, and even talking about like kind of potential for an external Xingyi, like kids syllabus, that kind of thing. You seem to be interested in integrating it into the school in a more general way. So I'm just curious why its emphasis has kind of shifted. Why were you not teaching it so much back in those days? Or
yeah, because I guess you're right. Aside from Tai Chi, which I never really taught martially, especially, as you know, I think the only martial arts I ever really taught to anyone was actually Long Fist. Shaolin back in North Wales, I had Long Fist, Northern Shaolin class.
Yeah.
So that's, aside from boxing and things like that, it's been the only sort of martial arts I've taught. I think mostly just for practicality, because I'm not really a martial arts teacher, or I haven't been for a really long time. I've been a Qigong teacher.
Yeah.
So
but Xingyi is more martial.
My first ever class was Xingyi, right?
Yeah, I meant to ask about that as well. Like, just interested about the fluctuations of why were you teaching it back then? What was the logic for starting with Xingyi, and then why did it fade? Why did it come back?
Well, originally I taught Xingyi because I was asked to. Actually, when I first started teaching, that's not true. Actually, it was Qigong as well. But the first system I taught was Xingyi way back in 2004, and it wasn't. I would say, I'm sure if I saw video footage of me teaching Xingyi in 2004, it would be embarrassingly basic, because my understanding went deeper. But I taught Xingyi originally because I was asked, because there was a bunch of people who turned up. I can't remember his name. He was a nice fella. It was 20 odd years ago. I liked him, but he had an interest in Xingyi, and in those days I was just like, sure. So I taught Xingyi to them. But I've always been a Qigong teacher. It's funny because online, actually, people when they sort of see, they might see me as more of a martial art teacher than I am, but 95% of what I taught has been Qigong and meditation. So I see myself as a Qigong teacher.
I think there's a lot of forms, and martial art lend itself to like stuff that you would put out online. So then,
because Qigong's boring to watch.
Yeah, the forms are just interesting. I mean,
it's really what it comes down to.
Watch the videos of the forms over and over and over again, and it was really what drew me in. It's just
but it's not an interesting reason. It's just because I was so mobile, because I was still studying really, really intently, whereas now I go to see my teachers a couple of times a year. But at the time I was like teaching, home, studying, teaching, back and forth in Asia and everything, and I realized that teaching martial arts that way was almost impossible, because you need regular input. So then Qigong, as well as being my main interest, became a sensible thing for me to teach in that way. So therefore it wasn't really integrated. So it was Qigong for a really, really long time after that initial phase. And then there was a bunch of people that were interested in Tai Chi, because they tend to go hand in hand. So I started teaching that. So Xingyi was just not emphasized because I didn't have that regular, constant tuition with someone. So there's been a couple of people that I've taught Xingyi to. Tom, who went off to study in a hospital, study being a doctor and what have you, so his life took him in a different direction.
And he also had a bit of a martial background already, so easier to kind of get through the syllabus.
He was a very easy student. That man learned fast.
Yes.
So I taught him Xingyi and things, but mostly it was because of that. It's because I've been traveling. And as someone who's traveling, and I think if you're only somewhere for a short period or you're doing seminars, it's quite unfair to start people on martial arts too much. So that's why, whereas here in Bali, because I've been here constantly for 3 years, it's been easier to do that. So that's why. Okay. That's why Xingyi became a bit more of an emphasis. And I think that there's Qigong is a hard one, isn't it? It's like whatever I say, I'm going to contradict myself. I have to argue with myself. As I think actually what's most useful for most people is Qigong actually. For the mass of people.
I remember, like you've said, like if you could only do one thing, like if you just didn't have any time,
Yeah.
then Nei Gong, Qigong, like that's the core of the path. It's what we're here for. Is
I think so.
Soul,
Yeah.
spirit, etc. So.
And I don't tend to teach younger people, 18 or under. Yeah. I'll keep guilting you to the day you die.
Yes.
Or I die, I'll die before you. But it's, I think that, I think if I was teaching more younger people, probably, but I still don't think younger people should do internal too much. So I'd probably teach an externalized version of it, very much based in the tissues.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm traveling less these days. It might not feel like it at the moment. I'm flying around all over the place. But at some stage in the near future, I'll stay still more. It's time to have more of a base. And I think probably martial arts and something like Xingyi will be a larger part of what I do, because I do think it's a very, very sensible system, especially for martial artists trying to understand how the internal arts work, because it's very much a bridge coming from something like, I don't know, long fist, white crane, praying mantis, whatever you've done. Boxing, wrestling, it doesn't have to be Chinese stuff. Yeah. And you want to understand the internal arts. Tai Chi is quite a jump, actually, a bigger jump than people realize. Whereas I think Xingyi is quite a nice stepping stone, because you can still recognizable techniques in there. Yeah. But it's a nice entryway into the internal arts. So I think Xingyi should be more widespread than it is. I think part of I know this is not what you asked. Sorry, I'm kind of riffing on that question. I don't know. I sort of on the spot a little bit of why I've not done that. Yeah, I think as well that Xingyi, it's only a theory. It's only a theory. I think Xingyi, more than any other internal system, got wrecked by the Cultural Revolution. It got wrecked.
It's very, I guess it didn't escape as much as Tai Chi. Tai Chi is just so worldwide, and so a lot of the masters kind of left China.
Yeah,
but Xingyi
was already in Malaysia. It was already in Taiwan. And,
Xingyi seems very much culturally Chinese and it's been there for so long. It's just kind of anchored to China. So.
Exactly. There was pockets of it. There's definitely pockets of it in Southeast Asia, but like Bagua is very much associated with Beijing, and still the center. Like a lot of the Bagua I did was in Beijing, and Xingyi is a bit more white, but it's still very Chinese. It didn't go quite so far. So Xingyi and Bagua, to me, they got wrecked. They got done in by the Cultural Revolution, and I'm sure people taught underground or behind closed doors or something. But the nature of teaching in secret is you can't spread it very wide. So I think an art like Xingyi became very, very sort of restricted, and then when it started to be taught publicly, it definitely got kind of externalized, like a lot of the arts did. And the problem is, if you do external Xingyi, it's dull as shit. Because if there's nothing internal going on, it's like the least satisfying martial art.
Yeah, you should probably do another external style.
Yeah, totally, completely. So I think Xingyi almost needs a little bit of I'm not arrogant enough to say I'm the man to do it. Definitely not. There should be someone better than me doing it. But Xingyi almost needs a little bit of a renaissance, a comeback, a little bit, so that people appreciate it. Yeah, But in like, how old is Lotus Nei Gong? 300 years? No, it's like 20 years or something, isn't it? 20 something. I think in 20 years of Lotus Nei Gong, I mean, we have many people. We have hundreds and hundreds of people studying Qigong under me or someone I've taught. And we have 90 branches of Qigong teachers or something like that. We have like 4 Tai Chi teachers. Yeah. It's like it's nothing. It's hardly anybody. Everybody is doing Qigong because it's such a hard system for people to get to grips with. And Xingyi, I would say, aside from yourself and maybe a couple of others, there's hardly anyone that could teach Xingyi either because it's.
I think in the history of Lotus Nei Gong, it was Tom was qualified to teach Xingyi and Bagua, and that's about it. Yeah, but I mean, I would be happy with yourself doing it, but it's, I haven't done a lot to spread it, have I? Never mind. Didn't have the circumstances to really get into it, I guess.
No, and it's a long life. And also my main interest being in Qigong, but that's why. Yeah, it's not a very interesting answer, I'm afraid. Yeah. I think sometimes things are based on practicality, and I think it's unfair to start martial arts on people if you're going to be there for a week and then you're going to disappear for 2 months and you're going to come back for a couple of days. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. One day, maybe Lotus Nei Gong will have Bagua teachers as well. Like, who knows? We never really had anyone go very deep into that system either, which is something else that I've studied. But hopefully, I mean, I'd like Lotus Nei Gong as an organization to eventually have people that are teaching these different branches of it for sure. But we're not quite at that stage yet. Yeah. Not quite at that stage, but one day. Cool. Okay, well. I think I'll start to draw it to a close there. Sure. I've had 2 cigars, which is a really bad idea. Yes. People moan at me for smoking cigars, but it's 2 cigars is a bad idea. I think no more till Christmas now. I need a break. Usually 2 cigaring is only when Adam is here.
Yes.
We're like, I don't know if he's a bad influence on me and I'm a bad influence on him, but there's like a back and forth. We shouldn't spend too much time together. It's unhealthy. But yeah, a couple of cigars has left me feeling lightheaded, showing you one. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting to actually sit down and ask you about how you've done with it, because it's definitely, you've got the bug.
Yes.
I don't mean you're diseased.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny. It's just there's a kind of, as you were saying, an almost like basic attraction to it. It's like, it's not just I know that it doesn't go as deep as Tai Chi, or it doesn't go as deep as Nei Gong, but it still goes, but there's just something to it that is just kind of love and a passion for it. It just draws me in. I love watching it. I love moving through those forms, and there's value to that, I think. Maybe one day you move beyond such kinds of preferences, but it's just viscerally, I just love it.
There's nothing wrong with enjoying something. I don't think you should ever rise above enjoying something.
Yeah. It's just something that I enjoy.
No, and I think that it's good. Like the drive I've seen you've been involved with it sometimes borders on obsession a little bit. But I think it's been good. And it's funny that I kind of recognize a little bit of that same sort of relentless drive to repeat things over and over again that I was doing when I was younger, when I was trying to get it. So well done on that.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I think it's good. And I think Xingyi should be preserved a little bit. And it should be not, it's like the fucking ugly cousin of the internal arts, and it shouldn't be, because it's actually a very beautiful art.
Yeah, there's something to that though, that it's like there's an underdog kind of nature to Xingyi, because it's so odd and doesn't quite fit into either camp, that also attracts me to it. It's like I want to develop it and work towards kind of bringing life to this art that is kind of underappreciated in my eyes.
So, good. Well, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.